Welcome to Heart to Heart. I'm Robert.
And I'm Christina. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm happy today.
You are?
Yeah,
What's
normal day.
what's that? Because usually you're like, I'm happy.
Well, no, I am happy. I just said it's unusual. It's not unusual.
Okay. So when you say I'm happy, what do you mean by that?
I mean, well, that's an interesting question because some people think it means that you're hysterical or laughing, um, and all your circumstances are going your way. But
Hmm.
to me, being happy is being at peace and being relaxed and not being stressed out and being accepting of um, your story and what's going on around you as best you can.
Hmm. I like that.
Being grateful. That's probably the main. That's probably the main thing.
Hmm.
To be grateful.
So it's contentment with the way things are, not necessarily the way you want them to be. It's just accepting what's in front of you and realizing that you're okay with that.
Well, yeah, it's going to change. Everything changes. That's the one I heard it said one time. What does it say? The only thing you can for certain know that's going to happen is change. And what's interesting is that humans seem to be resistant to the one sure thing that's going to happen.
Right.
We tend to want to make everything just stay the same. If we like it, sometimes if we don't like it,
Hmm. Yeah.
we'll have reruns.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, things have to change. Our kids have to grow up. They can't be five forever.
Yep. I don't know though. I know some that are hanging on to five pretty good.
Well, you know what I mean. I think that was in our last episode. We were talking about just being young inside, but yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think we need to be accepting of where we're at, and it might not be, you know, the best place that you could possibly be in, but you have to be okay with that and be at peace with that. Because if you struggle with your reality, you're just going to bring more struggle to yourself. So I
Well,
think
that's
it's
right.
really important to have that mindset where you just have to be happy for what it is that you have. You've got to find a gratitude in what you have. If you can't find gratitude in what you have, then that's that's an issue.
Well, but now think about that because people will argue or think that happiness is not a choice, that happiness has to do with circumstances and um, whatever. So let me ask you this. How do you feel when you're feeling what you just said, when you're feeling gratitude?
Well, I feel amazing when I feel grateful, when I count my blessings.
Does it
And
feel anything like happy?
well, of course, I feel
Well,
very blessed in this life.
have you
I
noticed?
really do. My life obviously has not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But even despite the challenges, I've been very blessed. I've just been very blessed. I can't look on it in any other way. I mean, and and that's just, when things are coming at me and challenges coming at me, one of the things that I can do is to go back and count my blessings. And matter of fact, when I was going through a tremendously challenging time, one of the things I did do was before I went to bed every night, I had a journal. And in that journal, I would write down the things that I was grateful for. And I would do this every night. And I think I did it for almost a year to just keep myself grounded in the blessings as the storm was coming at me. It's like, I'm going to cling to those blessings.
Well, but now, so I guess my point, if there is one, is this. So you chose or choose to keep a journal and write down things that you're grateful for. And the corresponding emotional state and feeling is a feeling of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you don't choose to be grateful?
Well, I think if you don't choose to be grateful, it's sort of like you're on a boat and you're just sailing aimlessly around and you're not anchoring yourself. Like, I think you almost have to find that gratitude within yourself. And I think gratitude also has to do with self-love and how you feel about yourself. I think the two go hand in hand.
Oh, I agree. I heard an interesting statistic this week that in America, our population makes up 5% of the world. And our consumption of opioids, we're having this opioid crisis, is 80%.
Mm.
Now, can I tell you, somebody's not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because let me tell you, it's natural. And we have addiction, we have all types of malfunction because we innately will try to improve our consciousness. We want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we'll do it, in some cases, come hell or high water, like they say. We'll do it in self-destructive means. We'll do it in all kind of means. But if we'll pay attention to what it is that we're doing, we're trying to be happy.
Right.
So maybe we're clumsy with that. Maybe we're not very skillful with that.
I really think with age comes wisdom. And when you're younger, especially, you don't have the mental tools. It's like, it's sort of like exercising your body to get stronger. You exercise your mind by thinking a certain way. And when you're in school, you're not taught how to meet life challenges. You're just taught X plus Y equals whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you're not taught, okay, this is what happens in life. This might be thrown at you at life. How might you perceive this? How might you get through this? How might you? So we're not trained, and we go into the adult world after being in school for so many years. We go into the world, and all of a sudden, all these things are coming at us, responsibilities, and we don't know how to handle them. So it's easy to take a pill, or just plop a pill in your mouth and forget things for a little while and be high and be like, oh, this feels, I want to get high, this feels good. Or I don't even know what the opioids do because I've never taken one. So I don't know, I'm just assuming they make you high, but maybe they don't. I don't know what they do, or maybe they relax you or unstress you or whatever. But we're doing this because we don't know how to do it for ourselves. But as we get older, we go through more and more and more. Because that's life, right? So we go through this challenge and that challenge, and then people we love go through challenges, and then we're there for them during their challenges. We go through all of this stuff, and then we start gaining what's called wisdom. And then we scratch our heads and say, why didn't I learn this at 15? Like, this could have helped me get through this if I would only have known. And we start scouring self-help books, and we start learning, going back into anything we can put our hands on to try to help us to gain insights and perceptions. And a lot of the times when we go to all these different avenues, one of the things that they all point us to is back to yourself, know thyself. And it's like we're still looking outward, and yet everything that when we look outward, everything points you back to yourself. And it's like sometimes if we just get quiet for a moment, if we can just sit with ourselves for a second, we might hear the answer to our problems. and be guided through them, but we don't know that because we're busy trying to find it out here, whether it's in a pill or a book or whatever, instead of just being alone and learning for yourself.
Well, along those lines, just understanding our physiology. It's a scientific fact that with every thought that we think, there's a biochemical accompanying reaction, and the brain, like a little pharmacy up there, it's mixing these different chemical concoctions. And so we feel as we speak, whether we speak out loud or whether it's just this internal narrative that we allow to go inside our heads, or we're listening to someone else. You can listen to someone who is eloquent and saying something that's inspiring, and you'll have a physical reaction in your body. A tear will come down your face. Or you can go see a skillful comedian and you'll begin to laugh and feel differently. And your body is moving, and all these things are happening as you're responding to thinking, words. So, our medicine men of today, the snake oil folks, I like to call them, they want to tell us that you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, and so we'll just stick some more chemicals in there, and then that'll balance everything out. Well, it's not working.
No.
Okay? And we can see that it's not working. We can see it for ourselves. We can just turn on the news and see some of those reports. A lot of this stuff that goes on involves what we're talking about. So, what am I saying? Well, the quality of your thinking is the quality of the feelings that the thought-generated feelings that you're having. And you're always experiencing the quality of your thinking. Now, let me tell you something. You have to choose to be grateful. Nobody's going to choose that for you. How is that possible? So you are the only one that can choose to be grateful for anything. And when you choose that gratitude for anything, it shifts your consciousness and it changes your physiology. The chemical concoctions in your head change for a moment. And you can try it. Anybody can try it. It happens immediately. So how long would you like to feel that way?
However long you choose to.
That's right. That's right. We need to become skillful with our thinking and our reactions and our interaction with life. And understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Everything's bipolar.
Yes.
Everybody's bipolar. The planet has a north and a south pole. And so do your batteries in your phone. So does everything.
So does your body.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So these wild swings of emotion. And if we think about any tragedy that we hear about or read about or whatever, in most cases, it's someone whose emotions overtook them. We call it a crime of passion. If someone becomes so in such a dark place that they harm themselves or take their own life, they're trying to make something stop. You know what they're trying to stop? The pharmacist.
Right.
You know who's driving the pharmacist? The occupant of this body. The occupant. We can choose. So,
and that's powerful.
Oh yeah.
It's extremely powerful.
So the quality of our thinking is important. Being being grateful is important. And we'll all say, I should be more grateful. Another thing we like to do is if we're going through a difficult situation, then we'll try to find a story about somebody else in a much worse.
Oh, I know. Well, so-and-so's going through it so much worse, so that makes me feel better. Well, not really.
At least I can be grateful for this, or at least I can be grateful for that. But we're not. We need to encourage each other to be grateful.
Right.
One of the best ways to encourage the people around you to be grateful, you're going to think this is just too simple. Be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Be grateful for the people around you.
Exactly.
Be grateful for everything that you can be grateful for in any given moment and express gratitude for it. Why? Because it feels good.
Sure. But that also takes a mental muscle. And you have
Of
to
course it
exercise
does.
that muscle because a part of you wants to sit in that victim mode, wants to be able to complain about so and so, wants to be able to keep this story going on and on and on and on. So when you switch it over to gratitude, you're actually like switching that whole thing off. So now you're not complaining about so and so, the situation. So you have to be able to detach yourself from what's happening.
Well, that's right. And we're addicted to thinking or patterns of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we use the term substance abuse, and I know there's some interaction between external substances and repetitive behaviors. However, well, what about someone that's addicted to gambling? What about someone that we call a workaholic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we ought to outlaw work. Work is bad. Or we should, somebody that's addicted to food. Oh, we have to outlaw all the food. Food is bad.
Mm-hmm.
No. There's people that are, what do you call them? I'm probably a borderline hoarder. They have a hard time throwing things away, and then you see somebody with stuff stacked all the way to the ceiling. They can barely get through the house, and you say, something's wrong.
Right.
There's something wrong up here. Well, what is it? It's an addiction.
Right.
It's an addiction, repetitive behavior. But now watch this. I've been in the machinery business for over 20 years, and I used to, real high-tech equipment. And one of the things about manufacturing, and you buy machines for manufacturing, is that it repeats. It's a term we use. It repeats. If you program it, and then it does this, this, and this, then it'll do that, and then it'll do it again. And then it'll do it again. And you don't even have to think about it. You just push the button, and it just repeats. Mm-hmm. Okay? We engineer to that end. Why? Because it's very valuable. So let me tell you something that you won't hear in some circle of talk about addiction. Mm-hmm. It's a strength. You are programmable. You have programmed yourself into a place of repeating behavior that may be self-destructive. Mm-hmm. You can reprogram yourself and learn the tools and methods to do that. There's people addicted to running, mm-hmm. to jogging, because it feels good. I can't imagine doing that, Christine. If you ever see me running, somebody's probably chasing me.
Won't be me either. I'm not a runner either. No way.
But we are programmable. And we give ourselves over to programming. Mm-hmm. And then we'll join in the programming and repeat these negative things about ourselves, and then repeat the behavior of drinking too much or whatever it is to try to make us feel better. Feel better for what? For that terrible inner narrative that we allow to go on. And so that becomes a pattern. Well, you can make another pattern.
Right. Turn it off.
That's right. Or redirect it.
Right. Right. But you have to be able to do that. And sometimes we get so vested in what's happening that we're so into our story. And then we want to call 5 friends and complain about whatever it is that's happening, because we got to get it out. And when you do that, we don't really realize that we're really like being energy vampires then, because we're like taking our situation and we're taking this and we're dumping it onto somebody else. And then we're making them feel bad about our situation. I mean, sometimes we need to be there for other people, because sometimes, and I know this just from stuff going on with some of my friends the last couple of years, I mean, really tragic things happening. And they need to vent. They need to be able to talk to another person. But at the same time, I already know, just from where I'm at in my spiritual progress, not to take on that energy. In other words, I can have empathy, I can have compassion, I can be loving, but I have to let that person walk the path, because that person's going through experiences in order to grow them. And in order to grow me, like, I'm not on their path. So whatever's happened to them, while it can be so tragic and so sad and heartbreaking in so many ways, and I can be there for that person as much as I can, I can't let it affect me, because I have to understand that this is that person's, contract. It's their path. It's what they need to undergo. So I can be there and I can hold their hand. And that's something that's learned. And I never used to be like that. So I know what it's like to have the 5 friends call you at all sorts of things, and then you're just as enmeshed in it now in their problem as they are, to the point where you can't sleep, you can't eat. You've now taken on their energy, and I've had to learn not to do that anymore. But and I think also when you do that, you're actually helping them out in a much more positive way, because you're like more a pillar of strength. So instead of like stooping down to where they're at because they're grieving or they're going through this or that, which is in most cases justifiable depending on what it is they're going through. But when you can actually be that strength now, you can actually help them. You can actually lift them up instead of keeping them at a lower level. And it's very empowering, not only for yourself, but for the other person, is to just be loving and hold their hand and help them through from a place of strength, rather than from another place.
Notice when that's happening, and if that's happening in my story, most of the time I try to just listen and let the person continue to vent, because we do need to vent. We do need somebody to bounce ideas off of, and just sometimes just to let it, to let it out. But if you'll notice, if you can't notice it in yourself, you can notice it in this other person that you're helping in this way. What the mind is trying to do is to unhappen what happened. Why did this happen? This shouldn't have happened. How could I have stopped this from happening? It's not fair that this happened, but there's this energy, this constant activity, mental activity to unhappen. I'm going to use a play on words.
Right.
To unhappen what has happened, and we're unhappy. Well, of course you're unhappy. You're in a state of the mind trying to unhappen. And guess what? It already happened.
Right.
Okay? We have to take responsibility for this. It's kind of neurotic.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little nutty. If you stop and think about it,
right.
It already has happened. It's already over.
Right.
Okay? You either learned from it or you didn't.
Right.
Did you learn from it? Did you benefit from it? Have you forgiven what you need to forgive? Did you gather what you need to gather? The next thing you need to do is put it down and move forward.
Right.
This is true for all of us.
But that's an advanced thought system. Because you're like, that is very, like, that's the wisdom that you garnished over years and years and years. Let's go back to somebody who is still every day doesn't know any better but to call and just complain every single day to you or to somebody else, calls 5 friends, and just every single day doesn't understand that. I'm supposed to learn from this. That's what the person's going to think. They don't even know that they're supposed to learn something from it. You know what I mean? Because again, it goes back to, I didn't learn this in school. Right. I didn't learn this on my path yet. I'm not there yet. The energy hasn't aligned for me to learn these lessons yet. So then what do you do?
Well, in my opinion, humanity is certainly resistant to learning. Do you know why?
Why?
At least why I have this opinion. Well, let me ask you this. What have you ever learned by doing something right? What do you learn?
by doing something right. You mean like easily?
Yes.
Like having something done easily? I like when things are done easily.
Well, no, if life presents you with the equation 2 plus 2 and you respond with 4, okay, and you did it right, okay, now here comes 2 plus 2 again, 4.
Right.
Here comes 2 plus 2 again, 4. Are you learning anything? No.
No,
You're
I
not
know.
learning
I mean,
anything.
it's amazing to me because the biggest challenges that that you experience in life is what's gonna to awaken you and grow you. But we don't really, that we learn as we go along.
In reality, we learn everything like a baby remembers how to walk or learns how to walk. I mean, the ability to walk is already there, not just the potential, but the innate ability. Okay, but the child has to embrace that, and it starts out pretty wobbly legs, and holding on to things and falling over and crawling and, and all that type of stuff. And it's beautiful to watch a child to find his feet, but it also takes some work.
Mm-hmm.
They have to become skillful, and then it becomes natural, and then you don't think about walking.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking thinking about something else, but you're not thinking about walking. It becomes automatic. Now, in spiritual circles, what we call our spiritual life most often is a path, is a journey. Mm-hmm. And we talk about walking a particular path. Well, how are we supposed to walk it? Because there's a metaphor.
We get pushed down many times, and we have to keep getting back up.
But that's right. Down. That's right. And that child learns to walk by falling down.
Right.
The child learns to ride the bicycle by falling off and getting back on. The proverbial, if the horse throws you, you get back on the horse. So the point is that we mistake our way to wisdom. But the reason I say that we're resistant to learning is because it's really been pounded in our head not to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
If you make mistakes, if you make errors, it might mean that you're a bad person. It might mean that you might have to go off to a bad place forever and ever because you had too many mistakes, too many errors. So we make poor decisions sometimes, but what did we learn? If nothing else, learn not to do that anymore.
Right. And learn to get back up on your feet when you get knocked down.
That's right.
And it's interesting too, because we look at other people and we look at them and say, well, they look like they're doing well, They got money, they're flying here and there, they're driving cars, they look happy. But we're seeing that, but we're not seeing them get knocked down. Because everybody gets knocked down.
Well, there's so many people. I think, who was it recently? Jim Carrey, I think it was, said he wished everybody would get rich and famous so that they'll find out that there's nothing to it as it relates to happiness or enlightenment or a joyful life. I know people, you know people, we all know people that have more money than you can imagine and all of the other stuff and walk around frustrated all the time.
Yeah.
Not happy.
Right.
Not happy with life, not happy with their family, not happy with the circumstance, not happy with anything, just not happy.
Right.
So what's the point? If somebody was going to win the lottery, they go buy these tickets. Why? Why do they want to win the lottery?
Oh, because if I had that money, I would be happy.
That's right. Or somebody has a dream to be a famous singer or to be a famous musician. If I can just do this, then I'll be happy. Mm-hmm. Now, when you begin to understand that happiness is a choice, like gratitude, it's kind of a byproduct of choosing gratitude, quite honestly. Then you stay in a more happy, contented state of being. You're not trying to get happiness from what you're doing. So guess what you're doing then if you're not trying to get happiness from it? You're putting happiness into it.
Right. And it comes back to you.
And when you're putting your happiness into something, the quality of whatever it is you're creating is so much better. Mm-hmm. Because you're doing what you love. and you're putting your happiness into it. And it seems like a small thing, but it's huge. And we don't notice that we're not putting our happiness into something. We're trying to pull our happiness out of it. Your happiness is not in there. It's in here. And we can only experience it by making that contribution. But it is a choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, have I told you how happy I am today?
Me too. Have I told you how happy I am today?
See, you feel better even when you say that.
I do. I feel good.
You know something else that helps? And anybody can try this. They can do it right now. I dare you. Regardless of what's going on in your life, what's going on in your story, just for this moment, not for 10 minutes from now, just for this moment, watch this. I give my permission for everything to be just as it is right now. Just that. If you do that inside yourself, you put your blessing on it. It might be a mess. It's just a mess. But for just a moment, you turn loose of it.
Right.
Just a moment. When you do that, you'll notice a shift in your energy, a shift in your feeling. You'll feel a weight come off of you. That's what that's supposed to show you, that you can do that.
Yeah. Well, that comes to a gratitude and acceptance.
That's right.
Go hand in hand, which also leads to happiness. It's like the triangle. The three go together.
Yep.
You have to accept where you are, what's happening right now in the moment.
But you know why? Somebody says, why do I have to do that? Listen, because it is where you are.
Right.
Okay.
And you know what's amazing too is that all of your past decisions led you to exactly where you are at the moment.
That's right.
Everything that you've done in the past is exactly where you are right now. Everything has led you exactly where you are. So if you want to change the future, you've got to change what you're doing right now in the present. Right now, right this moment, you change what you're doing right now. How can I do something maybe a little differently today? If I don't like where I am right now, if I'm not at peace with where I am right now, well, what sorts of, and you can understand the patterns and what the choices you've made in your life that have led you to where you are today. So now you're in the present moment. Okay, this is the only moment that I have. I can't do anything about the past. That's done. That's over. Can't change that. But now I'm in this moment right now. So what can I choose right now to do that's going to better my tomorrows? What can I do in this moment? Is there something I can do? Is there something I can be? Can I just be happy today for where I am right now? And then use this as a springboard for later. It's like all you could do is what you can do in a moment anyway.
Yeah.
That's all you got is right now. Like we're talking right now, that's all we have. We're sharing from our heart right now. This is all we have. This is what we're doing right now in the moment. And who knows where it's going to lead or what it's going to do. But this is what we feel, and what we want to do is we want to share the wisdom that we've garnished through our own ups and downs to get us to where we are today. I mean, we're not young. We've lived a little bit.
A little bit.
Been through a little bit there.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But I think that's par for the course, because I think most people, when they get to their 50s too, they the same. You've been through a little bit. You've been on this planet for 50 years. You've definitely been pushed down and gotten back up and pushed down on that path many times by the time you're 50.
Oh, that's right. But I guess the takeaway from the little talk today could be this. We're experiencing the quality of our thinking. We're experiencing the quality of our reaction to what appears to be going on around us. Our tendency is to try to control everything and everybody except to control the one thing that we have control over, our reaction. Our reaction to what's going on, the quality of our thinking concerning what's going on. That's what we have complete power over. And if we'll focus on that and change the things that we can change within ourselves, it's amazing what happens.
Amazing.
It is amazing what happens.
Right now,
Not just in yourself, but around you. In your story, things will begin to shift and begin to change.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. It's just right here, right now. I'm going to change. I'm going to look at things differently. I'm going to choose to be happy. I'm going to choose to be grateful. I'm going to choose to accept where I am right now. And then just let it be. Enjoy the moment. You know, that's powerful.
Well, good. And so are heart-to-heart conversations.
Yes, they are. I like this.
I appreciate you contacting me today. Let's do this again.
Let's do it. It's very nice speaking with you.
Oh, it's always good to speak with you. And if you like these conversations, we ask you to like and subscribe. There's buttons around here somewhere. I'm going to put them. Hey, Christine, do you have anything to leave us with?
Well, it's Sunday. So this moment, I guess I would say just find your center and look out the window and see the beauty before you.
There's some out there.
Be gratitude, be grateful. I mean, how lucky are we?
We're very fortunate.
We are.
More than we know.
More than we
Well, speaking of fortunate, it's fortunate I get to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
do this again next week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Until then, heart to heart.
Heart to heart.
Bye-bye.
Bye.